Tweeting earlier in the day before episode 5's premiere, Justin Roiland stated, "My favorite episode of these first 5 Rick and Morty episodes airs tonight." And I have to agree with him. This episode is my personal favorite of the season thus far, so let's get right into breaking it down. The episode is titled Rattlestar Ricklactica, after the fantastic sci-fi series Battlestar Galactica, first created in 1978 and remade in 2004. However, there's not really any references to Battlestar Galactica, so moving on. The episode begins with Jerry putting up Christmas lights, and is the first Christmas-related episode of Rick and Morty since Season 1's Anatomy Park. While there isn't much to the holiday storyline outside of Jerry's B story, the credits of the episode have Jingle Bells added to the theme song. Jingle Bells, the instrument, not the holiday song. Notably, this entire opening portion was teased at San Diego Comic-Con 2019 in animatic form. After Rick bestows Jerry with being neutrally buoyant, so long as his shoes are on, Jerry asks Siri to set a timer, which Siri completely misinterprets, as she often does.
Siri, set a 9-hour and 50-minute timer.
Playing the Beatles.
This takes us to the episode's A story, where Rick somehow manages to get a flat tire in outer space.
We love the idea of getting a flat tire in space. It's always fun to do terrestrial things in a dumb sci-fi way.
Flat tire, you should be walking.
Oof. Yeah.
This celebrity voice package, obviously supposed to be Christopher Walken talking. Morty tries to help Rick with his flat tire, only to be bitten by a space snake. I love that for some reason, the space snake has 2 holes in its helmet, specifically for it to extend its fangs. I guess space snakes need to defend themselves somehow. This poisons Morty, which Rick remarks,
"Computer, you might want to put a rush on this. Morty's starting to look like a 90s Japanese ghost."
This referencing films like The Ring and The Grudge, where Japanese ghosts would tend to look pale and veiny. While Rick is quick with the film references, hilariously, neither he nor Morty can seem to remember Buzz Aldrin, one of the first men to walk on the moon along with Neil Armstrong's correct name.
Oh god, they killed their... What's his name? Their Buzz Aspirin? It's actually Buzz Advil, Morty, and this is totally different.
Rick has a laugh at the snake civilization, using Jeff Foxworthy's signature ways to tell your redneck joke to point out the snakes are a Type 0 civilization. This is a reference to the Kardashev scale, with the scale based on how well a civilization can harness the power of their planet, solar system, and eventually galaxy. Currently, like the snakes, we're also considered a Type 0 civilization, being around a 0.72 on the scale. In order to become a Type 1 civilization, the population of the planet would essentially have to unify as a people on a global level and harness 100% of our Earth's solar energy. This is all based off of research I just did last night, so if I'm slightly off about anything, please let me know. Morty, super upset about potentially killing the hope of an evolving snake civilization, makes a strange tribute to Buzz Ibuprofen with R2-D2 candles. He heads to a shop whose prices are cold-blooded to buy a replacement snake, where on the right side of the frame you can find dog food with a picture of Snuffles from Season 1's Lawnmower Dog on it. Morty names this snake Slippy, which could potentially be a reference to Slippy Toad from Star Fox. I know one is a toad and one is a snake, but hey, you never know. As Morty sneaks past Rick to fly Slippy to Snake Planet, Rick has fallen asleep to TV. In the background you can hear what he's listening to.
Everyone has a plumbus in their home. First, they take the dingle bob,
which you might just recognize from Season 2's Interdimensional Cable episode.
Today on How They Do It, plumbuses. Everyone has a plumbus in their home. First, they take the dingle bop and they smooth it out.
Morty brings Slippy to Snake World, where we get a fantastic sequence of events over Slippy's return, with stereotypical movie happenings. The military snake we see monitoring a radar is looking at a magazine spread of a nude snake. The military brings Slippy back, it's interviewed, a professor from a university is brought in to study Slippy, they fall for each other and mate. And I love the fact that during this sequence, there's no subtitles, just hissing. It only adds to the humor of the movie stereotypes it's playing off of. This all comes to bite Morty in the ass as a snake returns from the future to assassinate Morty, interrupting his cell phone masturbation session. Meanwhile, Summer's having a sleepover with Trisha and Nancy. This is a little surprising, as in Season 3's The Whirly-Durly Conspiracy, Summer's then boyfriend, Ethan, cancels a camping trip with Summer to instead go out with Trisha. Somewhat similar in Rixie Business, Summer is rude to Nancy, with Nancy eventually speaking up against Summer. However, in season 3, Summer once again seems to be friends with Nancy, so perhaps Trisha is similar in this regard. Nancy remarks,
"Can you alter the course of a species' evolution like that without repercussions?"
No. And so begins the many, many Terminator references. The first snake that tries to dispatch Morty is instead dispatched by a snake with a shotgun and leather jacket, clearly meant to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator 1. Many of these snakes coming back in time are cyborgs, with one in particular directly quoting Terminator. This is also the first scene we've gotten from Season 4, which appears in the intro to this season. Snake Planet the Future directly pulls from Sarah Connor's VO and the Skynet future of Terminator, except for instead being SnakeNet.
17 billion snake lives ended on June 21st, 2026. The survivors lived only to face a new nightmare.
3 billion human lives ended on August 29th, 1997. The survivors of the nuclear fire called the war Judgment Day. They lived only to face a new nightmare, the war against the machines.
As it turns out, infiltrating SnakeNet reveals the snakes are nowhere near creating a time travel device, so Rick and Morty of the future time travel to give the snakes of 1985 the ability to snake time travel. This, however, means breaking what's been a long-running rule of Rick and Morty. In multiple interviews, Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon have stated they don't want to use time travel in the show for a variety of reasons, and have pulled back on the pilot having featured potential time travel. In an interview with CBR, Dan Harmon stated,
"Time travel is a real shark jumper.
Yes, it is.
Once you introduce into the canon of your show, it's just a dangerous toy to pull out."
Here's what's great about the first episode of season 2 is that it's a cautionary tale of why you don't with time. And by the way, Rick never traveled. None of them traveled in time. All they did was pause time.
And there's also the constant joke of time travel stuff being on the shelf of the garage. At 1985 MIT, we see various 80s references. A snake is breaking on cardboard to a boombox, with the snake next to is sporting a classic high top. Two snakes are snorting coke together, with one in classic punk getup and a mohawk. And another snake is wearing the fashion of the time with its big hair and big bangs. Inside, there's a poster for Snake to the Future and a signed poster of a snake resembling Michael Jackson's Bad Look. There's also a snake wearing a classic Apple logo shirt, except now it's a banana. So, now that snakes have time travel, what do you do? The classic query of, do you fix horrible things from the past or leave them be, as that's how the future we know develops? The snakes decide to stop all the bad things, traveling to the Ford Theater to prevent the assassination of Abraham Snake Lincoln. However, this has created a Snake Abraham fascist universe in the 1980s, so now they travel back in time to the Nazi regime to stop Hitler, when all time travel hell breaks loose. Notably, when Snake Hitler returns from its speech, there's a painting of a German Shepherd on the wall. Hitler's original ambition was to be a painter, however he failed the entrance exam to the Academy of Fine Arts Vienna twice. He was also known to have painted dogs, which It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia poked fun of in this episode, Pop Pop, The Final Solution.
No destroying that painting, that's a piece of history. That's the key to Hitler's madness. What this? Come on. I painted this. What? I painted it!
And maybe it's just me, but the German Shepherd in Rick and Morty looks like it could actually be a reference to the German Shepherd Charlie made in this episode. During the madness sequence of non-stop time travel snakes, the final one we see is yet another Terminator-specific reference, with the snake having Arnold's haircut and a single red glowing eye. We then get a callback to Season 2's A Wrinkle in Time, with Keegan-Michael Key returning to voice Schleemy Pants, a fourth-dimensional time cop, living in a world of Schrödinger cats. This ends the snakes once and for all, with many of them curling up into an Ouroboros, or Ouroboros, an ancient symbol where a snake forms a circle and bites its own tail. The symbol has meant different things throughout various cultures, but typically represents infinity. Rick pulls out and destroys Morty's adventure card, where he almost got to go on an adventure of his choosing, as this was all caused by Morty. The adventure card, which has now been seen in multiple episodes, was first introduced as a concept in Season 1's Me Seeks and Destroy. Rounding out the A story, Rick and Morty return to celebrate Christmas, only to have to fulfill their end of the time travel paradox, with future Rick and Morty telling them to go back in time with snake costumes to deliver these in snake time travel to past Rick and Morty.
Merry Christmas, you Ghost shitbags! of Christmas Future, bitches!
This referencing Charles Dickens' classic A Christmas Carol, in which Scrooge is visited by a ghost of Christmas past, present, and yet to come. On the B-side, we follow Jerry's floaty adventures.
Huh? Help! Help! I need that shoe!
Being Jerry, the first thing he does is go out and basically accidentally imply that he has white power, which is fading with the times.
My name's Jerry Smith. I live in the suburbs. I'm only here because I have a certain power I wanted to kind of celebrate before it goes away.
Yo, we got a Nazi up here.
The family realizes it was a terrible idea to leave Jerry alone with the ability to float, as they're playing Downbeat, a fictional version of Yahtzee they played in the past, and still never seem to finish as a running joke.
Downbeat.
I enjoy this game. We must go into the garage.
Guys, come on. We never get to finish this game.
We will return, possibly in different clothing.
Thinking he's going to die, Jerry tries to call Beth to say one final thing, only for her voicemail to activate as she doesn't have his number saved on her phone. I know that the running gag is that Jerry is a loser, but honestly, stuff like this just ends up making me feel bad for him. It's a bit much for me. After Jerry probably murders an entire plane of people, he somehow manages to survive his ordeal and make a great Christmas light display for his house. But his pride and refusal to admit the horrors he went through only seems to lead to a more resentful Beth. But hey, at least you gotta give it to Jerry for trying to handle things on his own. Thus ending Season 4's first 5 episodes. While this has been my personal favorite episode of the season so far, what has been yours? Let us know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.